our intention isn't to heal them. That would make them less than. They had their life, they've had their time. No matter what difficulties, they were able to pass life on. Our view of the ancestors is really hugely colored by gratitude and honoring and respect. We don't have any intentions for them because primarily their intentions are living in us. If you think of it as a flow down the mountain, they come before and we are downstream. So a mountain and the river flows downstream, it never flows upstream. And so now our job is to enable as maximum flow to the next generations, to our projects, to the things that are important to us, to the life, to value and honor life that was given to us.
Hello and welcome to Get Yourself Optimized. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer. It is my pleasure to have Ivan Polic with us. Ivan is a best-selling author, an internationally recognized speaker, and an advisor of leaders and businesses. He's the co-founder of Systemic Approach Institute and of Jumpstart Your Exit. He's also an expert in the therapeutic modality of family constellations. In the last 12 years, Ivan has served as advisor to small and medium-sized businesses on some 300 plus boards of director meetings and in various industries and economic sectors. Ivan, it's so great to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
First of all, I would love for our listener to understand a little bit about your backstory and how family constellations became something that was kind of front and center in your life and became part of what you do in your assisting business owners and up leveling themselves.
Great. Well, I was a professional soccer player. I was on a long quest to become the best player that I could be. I reached the professional level, ended my career with the LA Galaxy, and after that, I decided to go off and into my next quest, which was kind of building a business, our family business, and taking things to the next level and learning in that realm how best I can contribute. That journey also led me to a lot of it's a kind of an abrupt career change because soccer and business, that there are some inner connecting qualities and capacities and grit and competition and tenacity and all those things, but outward skills, those things needed a lot of up leveling. And I was always into personal development from my professional sports career, so I tried to expose myself to the best mentors that I could. That led to about a 10-year journey with Tony Robbins. Even back in my career of soccer and launching that and all of those trials and tribulations, I listened to Personal Power by Tony, and then eventually I had enough resources to go to one of his events and all of that. And so from that point on, I went into all of the Tony offers, got on his leadership team, and eventually both my wife and I became trainers for Tony Robbins. Traveled around the world supporting his events, leading the teams at his events, and things like that. And then somewhere along the way, I got luckily exposed to the family constellation modality, and that was incredibly impactful. The first experience was really mind-blowing, and so from that experience we went into a deep dive, learning everything we could about this, traveling all over the world, exposing ourselves to the best trainers and teachers. After that first experience, I think I read about 30 books in a 2 months period, because I was fascinated with the possibilities and impact and what this thing was. And I had to learn everything there was on it. So that's my usual way of diving deep into new things that I learned. So and that was pretty much the backstory.
Okay, but you said you had a mind-blowing experience with family constellations. So tell us, if you're willing, what that mind-blowing experience was.
Yeah, I've told this story a lot because since that first experience has been about 12 and a half years. And so my sister got, my mother sat on a plane next to someone, and she got a flyer for this thing, Family Constellations. And my sister is also in a kind of personal development world in Europe. And so she said, okay, let me go check it out. Let me see what this is. And she went, she had an incredible experience. So she calls me and tells me, hey, this thing you wanna check out. And so I immediately go online. I find a workshop here locally in Orange County, California, and I register. And so I don't know anything from anything. I show up to this thing on some weekend 13 years ago, and I walk in. It's a very, very kind of small room. There's maybe 7 of us. It's a kind of a not my scene. I mean, the first feeling was, what am I doing? Like, this is not. I don't know. Let me give it a chance. Kind of, let's. I'm already here. Let me sit down. So the first experience of the morning of that day, a young lady stands up and she walks up to me and she says, "Hey, would you like to participate in this first process here?" And I'm like, "You don't want me. Like, I don't know anything. It's my first time here. You don't want me. You don't. Oh no, don't worry. This is easy. Totally, you're gonna be fine. Would you please?" I'm like, reluctantly, I'm like, okay, well, I already provided this disclaimer that I don't know anything. So, okay, here we go. So she puts me in the middle of the room. This is like a circle seating room, very small room. And there I am. I'm standing in the middle of the room. And then she proceeds to invite someone else to stand up also to participate. And she places this woman in front of me, maybe, I don't know, 3 yards away, and she faces us up against each other. I mean, facing each other. And so there we are. She goes back and sits down, and we are left there in the middle of the room looking at each other. And I don't feel a thing. I don't feel anything. And now this is now getting long. Like, this is multi-minutes staring, looking at each other with no feeling whatsoever. And my mind is starting to going crazy. Like, what are you doing? What is going on? Like, where? I mean, I glance over to see where the door is. Is it close enough? Can I go home? Like, when can I bow out respectfully and just go home? And so as I'm thinking all these things, I hear the facilitator bringing in someone to stand. I'm hearing noise, so I look over and I see the facilitator bringing in a man to stand behind me. And so as I look, he's standing maybe 3 yards behind me. And so as I look and I see him, I turn my head this way. And as I turn my head, as soon as I get to here, a huge wave of sadness just takes over my body completely. And these are like very intense waves. They are really deep sadness, grief. I am just I'm taking over. So, and as my body's taking over, my mind is saying, wow, what is this? Wow, this is intense. It's so intense. My body's starting to react. And then tears come, spontaneous tears come. I don't know what this is about, but genuine grief is passing through my nervous system, and my face is just a mess. Huge tears, lots of tears. And as I'm going through it, I'm like, what is going on? Gather yourself. But this is not going on and going. Probably about a 5 minute of grief passing through my nervous system. And slowly I'm like, oh my God, this is slowing down, slowing down, slowing down. And finally, it kind of subsides enough. I can wipe my face and I can, gather myself. They're giving me tissues. I'm a huge mess. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And so as I wipe my face and my eyes and I could open them finally again, I look across to the same woman standing at the same distance, and I'm like, I I am I am stunned by the beauty and the sweetness and almost like an angelic figure in front of me. And I can't I'm trying to take this in, and I can't. It's so unbelievable to me. I don't know what's going on, and I'm having like a spontaneous movement that I'm not initiating towards her. So my body's starting to move towards her, and I'm not telling. I wasn't intending to move, and so I'm moving. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? And I look up, and she's also incredibly connected. And now we have this connection, and now we're getting closer. And as we get really close, an incredible embrace just happens there, and it's so sweet and it's so beautiful, and we're holding each other. And in the middle of all that, I'm thinking to myself, dude, you have completely lost it. You're definitely certifiable. And I open my eyes a little bit. Everybody's staring at us, and I'm like, dude, this is wild. What is going on here? And so this goes on for a few minutes of us holding each other. And then the finally facilitator says, thank you. And we're like letting go of each other and like, oh my God, what was that? Da, da, da. And so you can go ahead and sit down. So we go and sit down. And what happens is that they don't debrief. They don't debrief what happened. And they're just going into the next process and the next process. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And so while I'm sitting there at the next process, I'm thinking to myself, hey, did they give me something to eat? Did I drink something? Did they hypnotize me? Was there a suggestion? What was that? I'm like, I'm reviewing and I'm questioning and I'm doubting and skeptical and all of this. But at the end of the day, I had no backstory. It's, this is one of those facilitators, and we work this way as well now, that works blindly. So the participants know nothing of the backstory. It's totally non-cognitive. And I can't talk myself out of it. And I'm like, I guess I got to investigate. This was incredible. I want to know what this is. So at the lunch break, I corner the facilitator, and this is a lovely, like 75-year-old woman. I'm like, please, could you please give me a little something on what happened that earlier when I was representing? And she said, well, the young lady that asked you to participate, she was wanting to explore her relationship with her father, and you represented her father, and the young lady that was standing in front of you, she represented the client. I'm like, okay, and then what? And she said, did you notice how you couldn't feel anything at the beginning? I said, yeah. Well, she said that's how her relationship with the dad was. She couldn't connect with him no matter what she tried. And she tried a lot of things, and she couldn't connect with him no matter what. I'm like, yeah, man, I couldn't feel anything there. And so then what? So she said, her dad is a first-generation immigrant from Hungary, and I had a thought, maybe a hunch, or maybe that, there could be something to do with his country of origin, that there could be something there that so as a test, I placed the representative for the country of Hungary behind you. And I'm like, you did what? And my mind was already preparing to be just blown up. And I was thinking, what? we're connected to countries. I mean, what is this, like the invisible world? What are we talking about here? And she said, well, my interpretation of what happened is that once you stood in the place of the Father, and there was a relationship now with the country of Hungary. My hunch is that when he came to the US some 20 years ago, he was so homesick and so nostalgic and so missing his country and so missing his family that he was extremely sad. And the only way he could function in the new world is to kind of make himself numb, to numb out the sadness and numb out the longing and the yearning and the missing of his country and his family. And that he just numbed himself to be able to survive, to be able to function. And when he numbed off the sadness and grief, he numbed off all the other feelings. So he could not connect with his daughter. His daughter could not connect with him. He literally wasn't able to feel. And so when you came in, undefended nervous system, stepping into his place on an energetic, morphogenetic field level, you had nothing of the backstory and no defense system and no blocking of feeling. You had a healthy, available nervous system. So when you stepped into it, all those feelings you could feel. And he said, you felt the 20 plus years of his sadness. And I was like, well, I was like, that's an unbelievable statement. But having the experience 2 hours earlier and actually that running through my body, I was like, well, hell, that's what, that was a lot. I have to agree with that because that was a lot. A lot went through my body. And so I was like, whoa. And she said, after you felt all the sadness and grief, now you could feel also other emotions, which was the immense love he had for his daughter. And I was like, whoa. And that's when my mind was completely blown. And I was like, whoa, this is incredible. The implications, and my mind was racing at that point. The implications were incredible. And at that point, I had a lot of skills on the personal development side. I had a lot of things that I've already been working on, but nothing like this I ever experienced. And the implications were incredible. I was already doing a lot of change work, but the implications of this, in a non-cognitive manner, just stepping in and experiencing something that might have been backed up for a long time, the therapeutic, the change, the transformation possible here seemed to me from first glance was incredible possibilities. And because of that, I dove in and I was like, well, I cannot make any other explanation, but there's something mysteriously powerful here, and I must know everything about it. And so I went on and I read the Bert Hellinger's book, any Bert Hellinger book, and he wrote like 40 books. Anything that I could grab and find and whatever from the beginning, I went in chronological order and I tried to read everything. Then I started traveling all over the world trying to learn as much as I could. And incredible possibilities, incredibly powerful modality. And it's been 12 years later. It's completely changed the trajectory of our lives, and it changed the trajectory of a lot of people that we've worked with. And that's the mind flowing first experience. I glanced over it because I've told this story a lot, and it takes a while to tell, but it gives you the firsthand experience and the implications and the possibilities of that. So I guess it was meant to be.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that. I was wrapped the whole time. I'm sure our listener was too. So, how does this work? Is this like channeling? Is this like you're receiving stuff psychically? And does the person that you're representing need to be someone who's passed, and then they're kind of like communicating with you in a psychic fashion, or how does that work?
It's not like that. I mean, there are elements to that. It really works in a mysterious way. I tend to say that, you know, the human civilizations has seen the lightning in the sky, and they were like, "Whoa, that's incredible power! How can, since the time of starting fires, they've been wanting to. How can we harness the fire in the sky? And so, in the early days of playing with electricity, like Edison's and Tesla and all those guys, when we started finally to get a sense, a little bit of the sense of what this is, that's kind of how I see the current moment in time in consciousness of humans and humanity. And so this modality is really tapping into something, into the next revolution of consciousness for humanity. And so we don't really know yet. It hasn't been decoded. It's something very, very mysterious. It's not yet fully revealed on how this works. My hunch is that it's probably going to take 100 to 200 years for the science to be able to decode this. But in the meantime, we're kind of the early explorers. And even though we don't know how the magic works, like you and I probably couldn't wire up our house for electricity. Maybe you could, but I couldn't. Even though I have an electrical engineering degree, I still couldn't wire up a house. But I sure know how to turn on the lights, because, I go to the thing, I press the button, boom, lights. I don't know where it goes. I don't know where the wiring goes. I don't know how it's hooked up and all that, but I know that I can utilize it. So that's kind of where we are. And the best descriptions are provided by a scientist, Rupert Sheldrake. He covers something that's called morphogenetic field. And so what the morphogenetic field is he uses the flock of birds and how they move, and how do the birds know how to move in unison. And there could be a flock of birds that's, maybe if you've seen those, like and fish also move in this way. Mm-hmm. How do they know how to move in unison? They move as a unit. And so in order to have the coordination of all those fish moving at the same time together in all that fashion, they have to have some kind of other connection rather than the connection that we can see. And he is saying that the morphogenetic field, they enter the field together, and they're together in the field, and they move with the field. And so in the morphogenetic field, another way to call this field would be the Akashic field. Another way to call this would be the etheric field. Different modalities and different ancient sacred bodies of knowledge and consciousness would have different names for it, but it's all the same. So in the field, everything is written. Everything that ever was is there. Everything that is there, and everything that it probably will be is there, all simultaneously right now. And so what we're doing when we step into these things, we're literally entering the field and entering the energy of the person with the intention for some kind of good cause. You're entering the field in that particular place, in that particular time, and you are able to feel what that person feels, and you're able to see the spatial relationship between elements. So in that example I provided, there's a spatial relationship between the mother and the daughter, father and the daughter, with some distance and some frozenness, if you would, of their relationship. And then that was the relationship in the field between them. And up until the grief was felt and processed, now the new relationship at the end of the process is this, between the father and the daughter in the field. And so what we're working on is in a spatial relational way. The way I like to call this is, it's a little bit of the feng shui of the soul. So you are creating a new spatial relationship in the space that's maybe more optimal for flow and love and abundance and whatever else you want. That's how the Chinese created the feng shui. How can we optimize the living space in the best possible way, with where we put the door, where we put the window, how do we rotate the house based on the north, south, west, and east? And so that's really what this modality is. It's really feng shui of the soul, feng shui of your inner world. And it's probably one of the only modalities where you can externalize your inner world, where you're externalizing your inner. Usually, to really do introspection and reflection, you kind of have to go within, and you have to there's a lot of these modalities where you can, and I'm doing a tremendous amount of meditation and all of these modalities. And so usually we never experience ourselves that we see ourselves in front of us. You can go in observer mode, and you can go outside your body and you can do that. But this is actually kind of an intentional modality where you can externalize your inner world, and you can actually make shifts in a sense of the feng shui of the inner world, of your inner world, and what's going on in there, and how you can shift things in an intentional way that can be helpful on your journey.
I love that. That's really cool. And I love your description of it as a feng shui of your inner world. Are you practicing feng shui of your outer world in terms of where you put things like mirrors and different objects in your home and how you place furniture?
We are more of the practitioners of the feng shui of the inner world. We have consulted, and we have done small things, including we have done feng shui of our aerospace manufacturing plant, because we had some major resistances and immunities to change, and we had some major difficulties. And so we've done some feng shui work out of necessity, really, and so we believe in it. But in comparison between the two, we've done a much deeper exploration on the inner world.
Gotcha. I recently heard a presentation by Marie Diamond. She spoke at a Mind Valley event, and she was describing like there's a corner, let's say in your office, that's your success corner, and then there's a relationship corner and so forth. And if your desk is facing away from the success corner, you're going to have a lot harder time with your business or your career than if you faced the success corner. And Vishen Lakhiani was talking about how he just changed the position of his desk, and then all these blockages in his business in Mind Valley, when he was earlier in that growth cycle of that business. It's now very large, but that was earlier, and he was experiencing some blocks in the growth of that business, and then he changed the position of his desk, and things just started to unlock.
Yeah, it's incredible what's possible.
Yeah. So I'm curious if the person that you're working with, like the client, has to be in the same room with the other people, or can you do this remotely?
Yeah, so it's definitely possible to do it remotely. We have done a lot of work online. During the COVID, um, the early stages of COVID, we went online and we did something. We did a series of events. So from August of 2020 to about the end of the year, was that 4 months, 5 months? We did about 200 hours of original content on this modality online, and it literally gathered a global audience because everybody was at home and they couldn't participate in their favorite modality, and so we tapped into that moment, and we made a huge difference. We ran a series of events, and the first challenge we ran was called Systemic Work All Day Every Day. And the idea behind that is how can you facilitate your life from the lens of this modality on a day-to-day basis, moment to moment. And so it's easy when you go into a sacred circle, if you would, and everybody's coming and everybody can feel the sacredness, and we can do some really deep work there. But when your angry neighbor is knocking on your door, can you then summon that same presence to facilitate that situation? And so that was the premise behind that. And we did a series of events: Find Your Voice, the Sacred Compass, Transitions Challenge, where we help people make transitions from this lens. We did a challenge called Who's Making Your Decisions? Because lots of times we're not making our own decisions. We're just hijacked by the different systems and influences from the outsides, and we're not really making our own decisions. So that was a wild ride, and that was really cool. But definitely, it can be done. It can be done in groups, if you would, a sacred circle online, or it can also be done on one-on-one with a facilitator, and the work is done a little bit different, kind of maybe through a guided process rather than a spatial thing. So the spatial thing happens on a guided way with your eyes closed, or maybe feeling things, or maybe the facilitator represents a key figure that you need to confront and get whatever you need to get. So there are ways to do it, and we did it in a big way during COVID.
Well, I'm sure that was transformational for a lot of people. That was really cool. You did that. Is any of that online and available now, like on YouTube, or how would I include some links to some of this amazing stuff that you created back then in the show notes for this episode?
You can just say if somebody's interested, they would have to contact us. Currently, these are all recorded and they're in the vault, if you would. They're waiting for their moment to be put together into something. For someone who's really hot or interested in something, we can make an arrangement where they can get the videos. And the challenge of this is that there was a lot of experiential. Probably 50% of the whole process was experiential in little pods, small little experiences that were really, really impactful. Where, in breakout groups, people will go and have a very deep experience based on, okay, we're going to have a representative for this, and we're going to have a representative for this, and you're going to be there and experience that. You're going to face this first, and then you're going to face this, and then we're going to come back and harvest the experience and then answer questions. And it was very, very experiential and very deep. So we would want to find a way for people to have some support while they're going through this. But people at a certain level can definitely expose themselves to that and see what's going on. The wild thing is that in the Find Your Voice Challenge, we encourage people in a Facebook group, and based on how we were leading it and how vulnerable we were, everyone volunteered to go on camera on a Facebook Live in the group and share their innermost challenges when it came to finding their voice. And that was hundreds of things. I wasn't sleeping because as the person leading the process, I had to see every minute of every one of those things. And I didn't have to, but I was so enthused by it, by the vulnerability and the authenticity of it. It was riveting, and I had to make a comment on every one of those things, and so I wasn't sleeping. It was insane. We did. I did about 130 Facebook lives in 130 days straight during that time. It was incredibly. It was like a huge wave of energy that we were doing during COVID. It was a huge boost of positivity and energy and contribution. So
yeah, during a very difficult time. Yeah.
yeah, we always think of that as a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's we're actually, as we're recording this, we're going through an energetic window in time called the Omer, and it's 49 days, and it's a difficult time. The way it's described in Kabbalistic terms with Kabbalah is accelerated tikkun. Tikkun is Hebrew for soul correction. So we're having an accelerated soul correction process during these 49 days. So I don't know if you noticed, difficult things, relationships being challenged and stuff over, like, we're about 2/3 of the way through that process right now. And I don't know if you've experienced any difficulties or challenges or tough relationships during these last you know handful of weeks.
Well, we're always edging, and we're always on the edge. So we always have difficulties because we're always edging to the next growth opportunities for us. So definitely, I know we were just in Europe celebrating our 25th anniversary, and seeing our parents and all of these things. So, and we're back home now. So great. I'd love to know what day are we on, so we can we can keep an eye on that.
Yeah, it's day 33, I think, right now of 49.
Great. So 2 more weeks, roughly.
Yeah, and so the reason I brought this up is because that whole COVID time frame feels to me like it was accelerated tikkun as well. So people were doing stuff that were not their best selves. Really under pressure, kind of like a pressure cooker environment. I remember in the early days of the pandemic, walking our little baby around the neighborhood, and we weren't wearing a mask. Going around the neighborhood, we were living in Encino at the time, so LA, and some lady came out of nowhere to yell and scream at us and wish that our baby got sick because we weren't wearing a mask by ourselves with nobody within many 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 tens of meters away. Nobody. It was just us outside not wearing masks, and she was just screaming at us, following us, screaming at us, telling us she wished our baby would get sick. And so I'm sure people who reacted in unkind ways such as that was them in a very pressure cooker kind of environment state, not their best selves. And when you are in that kind of environment, it is really really important to rein in your reactivity and be aware of how you treat others. And so anyways, that was one of the incidents that just finally put us over the edge, and like, we're moving out of California. That's it. So I believe everything is orchestrated from above by God, and that was for our highest and best good, so that we would make a positive next move and not get too comfortable with living in where we were in Encino. And we moved actually out of the country for a while. And it was an incredible experience that I'm so grateful for. But yeah, that experience was really, really uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's definitely people under pressure can do
Yeah.
some really not cool things.
Yeah, and I guess that relates also to family constellation work, because when somebody says something hurtful to you and it's somebody that you look up to or you care very much what they think, like a spouse or a family member, and then you hold on to that resentment for maybe decades, you can use family constellation work to release all that pent up hurt, anger, frustration, sadness. And the person that you're in conflict with doesn't even have to be on this side of the veil anymore. They could have passed years ago.
Absolutely, and a lot of the disturbances that we bump into have happened in the previous generations, and so we inherit our parents' open questions, unanswered questions. We inherit their uh, unfelt pains and you know, any kind of energetic blockage or major trauma that was maybe overwhelming, and you know what happened in the previous generations, lots and lots of trauma. And so all of those things can come up and have no explainable cause. And in this is one way to get to those things and make shifts that are not easily apparent. I mean, in talk therapy, you could talk forever. I mean, it's not something that's going to get to this. And so I think it's a great opportunity for people to optimize, as the name of your show.
Yeah, thank you. So if we look at generational trauma as something that can be healed now, do you believe that it actually goes back in time? Because you said earlier that, you know, all that ever was, is, and will be, or it's all happening simultaneously. So can we heal our ancestors through this family constellation work?
I think our point of view is our intention isn't to heal them. That would make them less than. Uh, they had their life. They've had their time. They, no matter what difficulties, they were able to pass life on. Our view of the ancestors is really hugely colored by gratitude and honoring and respect. So we don't have any intentions for them, because primarily their intentions are living in us.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think of it as a flow down the mountain, they come before, and we are downstream. So a mountain and a river flows downstream; it never flows upstream. And so we are downstream, the two rivers of life from the two ancestors, the wings, if you would, from the mother side and the father side. Those two rivers come from way many generations back, and they flow and flow and flow, and those two rivers come and merge inside of us. And so now our job is to enable as maximum flow to the next generations, to our projects, to the things that are important to us, to the life, to value and honor life that was given to us. I mean, we didn't somehow earn uh, life, if you would, like, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a point of view where you can say that, but it was gifted on us.
Yep.
Somehow it was gifted on us, so we want to honor that. And so what we're doing is we are opening up as much flow as possible, like opening up our channels so that more of life can pass through us, so that we can receive more life. And so that there's also in our DNA, in the cellular memory of the material that manifests in the manifest world, if you would, remains the imprint of what our ancestors have gone through. So incredible strength and resilience and capacity, along with some painful, traumatic incredibly difficult things that were not processable in the moment, that they were so overwhelming that they were not able to be processed. So now our willing nervous system, if you would, can allow that to actually process through if we create the conditions for that, and if we have the awareness to allow that. And with every one of those processings, we're opening up more capacity for flow of life and energy and strength and capacity and all of these things. And so that's the view that we have in this kind of body of knowledge.
Now, can you incorporate this work in one's business? Let's say that there are dysfunctional relationships between colleagues or between a staff person and their manager, and if so, how would that work?
It works in the same way. You can work in a circle and then provide representatives. You can work spatially on a board with figures, moving figures around and initiating conversations and initiating things. And it's incredibly powerful in diagnosing what is in relation to what, and what would be, a 30-minute process in target market exploration can replace a 6-month process of consumer research and all of these things. And you can find what resonates the most. You can find what's the strongest. You can find what are you in alignment the most. All of those things in conflict situations. Incredible amount of decision making is going on in business, and so anything that can help you make those decisions is extremely powerful and helpful. It has implications across all of those different things. We call it organizational constellations. So any problem that you have, what is it particularly strong in? Persistent problems that are immune to any kind of effort on your part. So if it is a systemic blockage of some kind and maybe hidden cause, the normal ways of going about it isn't going to do it. And this is spoken from direct experience, because in our aerospace business that we ran, very intricate, very difficult, demanding business, we hit up on these resistances all the time. It was like, this is Twilight Zone. What is happening? And finally we had a way of getting about it. And many times business owners are entangled with their businesses, so they get identified with their businesses, and so they're no longer, almost a codependence builds between the business owner and the business, and so they become one unit. I am my business and my business is me type of thing. And so we're able to facilitate a kind of a healthy separation of the two entities. And a lot of times on the growth cycles of a business, that can really ruin the quality of life of a person, because the needs of the business can outrun one nervous system very quickly. And if you're a guardian at the gate of the growth of your business, and you give everything it needs, you might get so depleted and wiped out and burnt out that the recovery can be very difficult. At the same time, business's growth can be capped by one nervous system, being in control, or centralized decision making, or whatever it might be, where business's needs are much bigger than one nervous system can pass through. And so by this healthy separation, if you would, we enable a higher quality of life for the business owner, as well as the higher possibility of growth for the business, which also increases value of the business. And it just it's a more of a holistic, more of a systemic, wholesome, more long-term sustainable kind of a life contribution to the community. Mm-hmm. And so if anyone's burning out in your business, that means that people are suffering in order for your product or service to be delivered, and there's something missing in that equation. uh, uh, the benefit that people are receiving is coming at the expense of people that is beyond the kind of good quality exchange. And so those are the things we look to identify and look to shift. This would be the feng shui of business. So feng shui metaphor is working really well today. But that's the kind of it. And what we do, we have three leading principles when we work with organizations. The first leading principle is we are a safe harbor. We're a safe harbor for you as the business owner. We're a safe harbor for you as a business. You can come to us vulnerably, come as you are, because we probably made much worse mistakes than you already. You can just come transparently, tell us what's going on. We're going to hear you out. It's a judgment-free zone, and we're going to work through things, and we're going to meet you where you are. And this is kind of like we're a safe harbor for you. And the second thing that we are for them is we're a way through. We are a way through from here to the fruition of your vision. So we can help you navigate the decisions, the emotions, the difficulty, whatever it might be, maybe the uneven exchange or the incorrect order, or what belongs, what doesn't belong, and how do you want to navigate the ship. Ideally, to have this business outlast the founder or the owner, meaning that the legacy lives on beyond the essence of why this was founded and what goodness it gives to the world, that it can go on beyond this generation. And that's the kind of thing we focus on. So we help them find a way through. And the final thing is we are a bridge for the founder to wholesomely provide this legacy and to find the next chapter of their life or the next moment in their journey, the kind of fulfilling new place and a new orientation in life, besides just the major focus on the business. Mm-hmm. And that also provides more space for the business and the new, more fulfilling life for the founders. And that's a little bit in a gist of how we do this work.
Yeah, and you incorporate family constellation work in your practice and helping these business owners to up level and to have a successful exit.
Yes, we definitely do that. We focus on three main shifts when we work with people, leaders, and organizations. The first shift is the kind of inner world shift. That's the kind of inner world feng shui. Second shift is the kind of operating system shift. Who is on the team? What systems? What tracking? How do we do that? How do we organize it? Everything that could be kind of internal to the business that provides a good mix that will able to fulfill on the essence and the vision of the business. And then the final shift that we focus on is the marketplace shift. We look at market trends and what is all involved, and how is the pricing, how is the offer, how does it match, where are the opportunities, how can we differentiate more, how can we maximize more, how can we make the future revenue independent of the founder. All of those things is what we focus on in the marketplace shift. And so when we connect it, it becomes a part of a holistic journey. And we have 9 accelerators that are part of that process that support a kind of a momentum building process, so that we can create the maximum value in the business, maximum value for the community, and maximum potential value. Create the business that is sellable. Create an asset that is providing goodness to the community, providing goodness to the founder, and providing goodness for the people working within it, and so that it's goodness all around. And at that point, the founder owner, it can be passed on to the next generation. It can be just continued, or it can be sold on the market to the correct buyer, someone that's going to have the ear and the sensibility to continue something so great in the same vein and with the same kind of intention. And so that's in a nutshell kind of what we do and what we work on. We call these 3 shifts a part of a larger body of work that includes the family constellations and the systemic work and a bunch of other things from our experience, and we call it shift intelligence, a kind of a whole body of work where we are progressively learning how to be better in making shifts, how to have the presence of mind, how to have the discernment and the courage to make the intentional shifts and changes and evolutions in the right direction to enable that flourishing of vision and improvement of the quality of life. And that's what we do and how we look at it.
That's really cool. And sounds like there's a lot of intentionality in that, and you really help all parties involved to reveal more light in the world and be better, not just your client, but the buyer if it ends up getting acquired, and all the team, the staff that are employed there, and the family of your client. Everybody benefits by having this intentional, deeper approach.
Yes, thank you so much. And culture is a huge component of this, and the teams on the ground. We always create a culture where it's energizing. It's energizing to come and contribute, and it's energizing when you go back home. You're not wasted and spent and abused. You come home and you can share that goodness with your family, and it's very much a growth-oriented space that we love to create. And so everyone, it's kind of a tide that rises all boats, if you would.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I love that analogy. Awesome. So if our listener or viewer wants to work with you and your team and help, you want to, give them that support to up level their business and their team, how do they get in touch? How do they work with you?
Well, the best place to look would be at jumpstartyourexit.com, our website. You can get some information there, and you'll be able to reach out there. Another way is we're quite active on LinkedIn with a lot of tips and frameworks, and we're sharing a lot of things on LinkedIn, parts of our story, short videos that are instructive, a lot of those kinds of things. So you can find us also on LinkedIn, and in the future, probably there will be more of those kinds of programs that are currently in the vault. Their time will come as well.
Okay, well, I look forward to that, and let me know once those things have surfaced, and then we'll include them in the show notes, even if the episode's already aired.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ivan, and thank you, listener. Thank you for being open-minded and being real and raw and just vulnerable. Thank you, Ivan, for sharing such incredible stories and your metamorphosis. And I wish all of you listeners great success. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll catch you in the next episode. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, signing off.